Hello, and welcome to Traverse. My name is Franziska Eri. I'm a theatre and opera director talking to you from the RAM Theatre in Budapest, Hungary. Every week I'll be talking to different industry professionals from all over the world about their careers, the shifts and adjustments they had to make during this pandemic, and their hopes and dreams for the future. This is Traverse. What's next for our industry?
Today, my guests are Barcelona-based Soren Christensen and Tatiana Halbach, the multidisciplinary duo behind Desilence. Desilence makes live visuals, visual sonography, video mapping, and have worked with Golden Bug and Desert, performed at festivals such as Sonar and Primavera Sound, and have created visuals for international brands such as San Miguel and Red Bull. Whether it is mapping for theatre, dance, live music, or installations, Desilence has a strong grasp on technology, collaboration, and artistic vision.
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Fine, you?
Good. Where are you guys at the moment?
Now we are in Barcelona, home, in fact, and we are between Barcelona and Portugal most of the time, and we are fine. We're okay.
Good. And what's it like in Barcelona at the moment?
Weird.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're living like in the mountain behind the the city. So we're actually living like in a natural park that is like just it's Barcelona. We live in Barcelona, yes, but in a natural park.
We used to live in the center of Barcelona, and for 4 years ago we moved to the mountains. And here we almost don't notice the confinement and all this. Because here you need to be home at 10.
Okay.
Nobody's on the streets are empty and so on. But here we actually don't.
Well, the day-to-day is fine.
Yes.
I mean, okay, there's like the professional part of it, and then you have like the day-to-day, like how's your life, and day-to-day. It's okay.
It's
I mean,
okay.
like, it's a weird thing because I think like the city cores or city centers are, heavily controlled. But, when you're not in the town center, city center, then, you hardly notice it really.
Yeah.
What about when the whole thing started? So when the pandemic started, were you guys also in Barcelona?
Yes.
Well, we actually like lived in a different house,
yeah,
but like a bit longer, 10 kilometers from Barcelona. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of shows.
Yes, we had a lot of shows that was cancelled and all.
Like all our friends and colleagues in the professional field, like having the year lined up and looked to be like a great year, a lot of shows, projections, performances, and
suddenly
all postponed or cancelled really.
Yeah.
So.
But we profit to do other things. I mean, that we never had time to do actually, like a dome.
Sure. I mean, there's like this big movement, like in all kinds of digital creation that is real time, like Unreal Engine, Notch, all these things. But it's a different kind of way of doing content creation for stage or even TV shows or movies. And so we've been touching that thing for quite a while because, I mean, for theater it can be, I mean, on paper it should be quite practical and quite flexible and even better. So we spent a lot of time like getting to know Notch, and we did like this full dome piece that actually wasn't free festivals during the confinement, and won one in the United States. I think.
Wow.
And then we also did like what we call visual instrument, like using Notch as well, like because we have a long history of doing live visuals for concerts, and it's one of the things we like.
Mostly, yes.
Like a lot to do. So we had time to build this up and in our own way. And
then, of course, Sonar called us to do the live show in September. No, it was
in June. No, yeah.
They called us in June, and then we prepared this visual instrument to make this performance. But we had the time to really change our way to make visuals. That was nice, in fact.
So because we were like, okay, or we can do the traditional way, or we can do it like a different way. And then like, okay, let's just challenge ourselves. Let's do it in this generative way, and I think that it worked out great.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this SONAR project.
It was a live show in a place named Ideal in Barcelona. It's a 360 venue, like with projection. How much meters we have there?
It's like it's a contemporary art museum, and like, the biggest room is like, I think it's 1,000 square meters of projection. We didn't do the installation there. It's like a fixed installation, and they just got this new updated hardware. So and we got to do like use it for the first time for live sessions. So that was pretty great. With
John Talabot, a musician, and it was great. In fact, it was super fun, and
it was like event because like SONAR is like this big electronic music festival, and they had to reinvent themselves in a few months. So they went from like a massive event with like, I don't know how many were visiting each year, like 100,000 to like mainly be online. They partnered with a lot of artists all over the world that made concerts or got concerts recorded and then streamed live during a 3-day event that was in September last year. Right? Yeah.
And in fact, for us, it was better than doing it live in place because a lot of persons saw it, and normally the 800,000 persons from the venue see it, but when you do it in streaming, for us, in fact, it was good.
Is that because of a visual aspect that you guys had more room? Well, I guess because you didn't actually have an audience in the space, you had more room to be creative with the space you were in.
It's like, it's a different thing because a lot of times when it's a live concert, as a visual artist, maybe you have the back wall, but here like you have like, it's like 360, the wall, the floors, everything, and it's like with projection, and it's really big. Of course, a big stage might be like, well, it can go up to this 20 meters, right? But here you have like 20 by 20 by 6. It's huge, and especially when it's like recorded live with a lot of cameras, you have like a lot of different angles. Suddenly, it's a different way of thinking the visuals, and you could actually add people in there as well.
Yeah,
I mean, now you can actually make like special events like with about 200 persons in this room. I mean, it is a museum.
And film it and do it all.
Yeah.
I mean, a mixed thing. That's nice. That will be nice soon. But all this pandemic moment, in fact, it's not nice to say it, but show us that visuals are more important than they was before that. Because when the people are there dancing and a bit maybe wasted or whatever, they are not really, they are maybe watching the visuals, but not so much. And then with all this moment now, I think the visuals took an importance that they hadn't have till now, maybe. In concerts, I mean, in theater and so on, they were important. But when we are talking about concerts, it was a bit, well, they were visuals there, but the main
just like decoration almost.
Yeah. But the important was the musician.
Sure, but now of course, like when the main audience is online, you have to think the production in a different way, and you have to make it interesting for the viewer in a different way, because they're probably sitting at home in the sofa, probably not standing dancing. So it's a bit.
They need to look at something. And how do your audiences usually watch your things? Is it really sitting on a sofa? Like, how do you think about streaming and how it's supposed to be perceived?
I don't know. It depends. When you're watching it in a computer, of course, it's not so. But if you have a big screen, and for example, we went to see it with some friends, and we were there drinking something, eating something, watching it. Some were dancing, the others were watching, you know.
Yeah, we could be 10, so it's like, okay, let's...
and then it was nice. And I think this happened in plenty of houses too. I mean, you could do it too in a big party when we can. And then we can make a party with 50 persons, you put your super big screen and good sound, and persons could be there watching and dancing. it's another way to go to a festival. It will be, and it could be a mixed way to enjoy a festival.
Because you guys have so much experience in going to different festivals, are there talks about the festival circuit and how they might adapt to the pandemic? Like, are people talking to you about, we will stream this, think about streaming? Is your work being affected by that at all?
I mean, I think like our work is mainly affected by the fact that nobody can sell tickets at the moment.
Yeah.
And if nobody can sell tickets to anything, then
people
they cannot.
Doesn't have money.
Yeah.
To, yeah, of course.
And of course, theaters bit by bit are opening, and they can make shows. Like I think they are up to like what 50%.
And some festivals,
yeah.
they are doing it in theaters with people sitting because they can control the mask, everything, which is not bad, but of course people need to dance at some point. But at least theater, they still are open and you can still do shows. The problem is big festivals, all they need to reinvent themselves. Yeah. I mean, they need to do smaller concerts, a lot more concerts, stuff like that. And it's not so easy for them to
of course, like
survive.
If you think about it, like a lot of them are probably based on the consumption of people, right? Like how many beers they're buying, no, and etc. So that's not
a big festival in Forum with 200,000 persons. That all this you cannot suddenly change all the economy of that and do something. And then they are struggling a bit, but I think they will manage to come the other way around. And maybe not this year. This year they are doing smaller things, but I'm sure next year they will be able to do bit by bit again.
I guess the main focus, if you're speaking about like festivals, is music, right? And so now with the pandemic, it's like 100% focused on that. And as you say, like with the economy, of course, it's more difficult. You have to focus on it in a different way. And are people willing to pay for, a live session?
Yes, because that's a different experience, isn't it? Because you are essentially going to a gig or going to something that has visuals. It's not just about that, but also, drinking, having fun, going around. So the ticket prices, I'm guessing, are slightly different for streaming.
Yeah, of course.
But what we see is like with these 360 venues or venues that can have some kind of involving screens or experience, and now when it's more open and you can have a certain amount of audience, like not full or half full, but you can have like a few hundred persons depending on the size, then you could make these special concerts and people paying, and you could stream it as well. But you can fund it, so that you can construct an economy that can carry it, and a lot of friends that are working like more like in as technicians or stage technicians or riggers. I mean, they are having a really tough time because suddenly they have no work, and there's no work in the horizon. Right? It's like maybe 2022, 2023, 2020, whatever. So that's pretty tough.
Absolutely. For it to be COVID safe or as COVID safe as possible, you probably want to minimize the team that works on it. So are you noticing that maybe festivals or venues are saying, come make something, but make sure that it's like just the two of you? Like, is there some sort of downsizing in the amount of people that are working with you?
No, in fact, for example, for the mappings, they are saying as make sure that you can send the file just in case you cannot come, just in case you die, whatever, stuff, not you die, but I mean, if
you
are
confined
or whatever, make sure that you can send us the file and that we don't need you, in fact. And that's not so difficult. But of course, if you need to make a live session, you need to be there.
Yeah. And we did like an installation for Light Festival. There was in Copenhagen, and there was also a topic because there, everything was tightening, and day by day there was news about COVID and changes. So we actually did it with a friend from Denmark. So that made it possible to do it in case that we couldn't go for installation. We could send the light part, and then he could install it as well, and all would be good.
Wow. And this is at the Copenhagen Light Fest called FATA MORGANA. Is this a light sculpture that was outdoors. Is that right? And
Yes.
was this something that you came up with before the pandemic? Was it commissioned before the pandemic, or did you make it specifically thinking about the pandemic?
One of the things we did during the pandemic, because we always wanted to do a physical piece, like a sculpture, and we never had time. It's one of these things that you are... And then we invented this piece in May, it was, so April.
Yeah, because like this thing, like with reflective surfaces and infinity mirrors, is like always been like very interesting. So we're like, okay, we need to do something with that. Something that can maybe... Instead of projecting on it, it will reflect light instead of project light.
Yeah, it's nice to have it for light festivals, because you cannot always do mappings. Mappings are expensive. We were talking about it for years ago, and then gracias, no?
Thanks.
Not thanks, but yeah, maybe.
But
thanks to the confinement, we could do it.
Yeah.
Did you feel that you were saying something about the pandemic as well with the piece, or you just wanted to make something with mirages?
No, it was more...
So people are like fed up and curing it.
No, it was more this Fata Morgana is the mirage. You know, when you are in the desert, that you see something, that you suddenly see water, and that's a bit the feeling that you are when you are close to this piece, because you see around and suddenly in the night it disappears and then it comes back again when it reflects something. And that was the idea for the beginning. Maybe it has something to do with the pandemic. I don't think so.
Also, I think it can work during the day. You know, it works during the day and during night, because one of the things, like when you do with video projection or work with light, then it has to be dark. And obviously in Scandinavia, in this time of year, well now not so much, but you know, like the winter is dark, so it's fantastic for light festivals. But it's also nice that something can work during the day. Then it's just a pity, like there's COVID and nobody's on the street. But if somebody would be on the street, it actually worked pretty awesome.
No, but in Denmark, in Copenhagen, it was full of people.
No, but it was really amazing, because during the week installing this thing, I never seen Copenhagen so empty, like every other big city at the moment, right? But in the launch weekend, then it was like, wow, full everywhere, people, because they could actually go outside.
That's great. Well, in a way, you did make something that's in a public place and people can look at. So I think that's already more art than most of us have seen in 2020. I also wanted to ask you about Design Across Borders, which is a global collaborative and cross-cultural event. And you were invited to create a piece for this event. Would you mind telling us about it a little bit?
Yes, we were invited. I was invited with another girl that she was in London, and we needed to make a draw together. The problem with VR, and it was nice. The process was super nice. We were working together and drawing together and all. But the day of the venue, in fact, suddenly all the internet went down.
No.
And I was staying there.
Maradona, he died.
Yeah, Maradona died, and then suddenly...
It seems like half of Barcelona was like looking at the internet and boom. Yeah,
and it was a bit disappointing, in fact, because we couldn't really do it in the way we were doing it the rest of the week. But the idea was super nice, in fact.
Were you collaborating remotely then? So your collaborator was in London and you did everything online. What was that like?
It was fun, in fact, because she started, I started, then she continued, then I took
Explain to me the process, like you were using like tilt brush, right?
Yeah, with tilt brush.
It's like an application for virtual reality, like where you can draw like with virtual.
And in fact, I hadn't used it so much before, but I was like, okay, it's fun. And then the idea was that one started the drawing, the other continued, then she gave it back, and then we went back and forth. And it was a rather nice and fun project and process. But well, in the end, nobody could see it. You know?
So you don't even need to travel to actually work with someone from London. You can just do that. You can just have a virtual canvas that you can both paint on. And was there anything that you learned from this that you want to use in your work from now on?
Yes, in fact, after that, I started to use more gravity sketch. I started to sculpt with VR. a thing that I don't used to do, because normally when you model or so, you do it with Cinema 4D or whatever, with the computer. And then I started to do it moving myself and doing it all with the VR, and it was super fun, in fact. And I'm learning more and more to do it, and I'm happy with it. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, been using in the past, we've been using like VR glasses to like, for example, when we did the dome piece, and, we could like visualize like, okay, but when you're doing like a 360, like a dome piece, like, or if you cannot try it in the space, it's really difficult to get the grasp of, does it work, doesn't work? So we made like a small app, well, actually Notch, inside Notch, to pre-visualize like, okay, a dome that is 10 or 25 meter, whatever, and then pre-visualize, does it work, what we're doing? And that's a great way. Also, like theater pieces, like the stage, does it work? The distances.
I wanted to ask you about that because if you just mentioned theater, and I'm very interested in this. So, do you think we could potentially design whole shows in VR and map up and like be a bit more prepared, almost like when you have model showings with a designer? Do you think this could be something that theater could use across the board? That we're just planning ahead in VR, looking around and designing in a space without actually traveling there?
Yes and no. I mean, it's really interesting the movement within like virtual production and what is going on there, like where you can be in a small space and you can cameras moving, and if you are on top of a lit wall or green screen, you can actually like build a 3D world around it, and it looks like you're in there, and all is fine. But whether it could work as a theater piece, I don't know. Whether it be interesting, I don't know. Maybe like a technical tool, like for building, your stage design, and also like you can simulate the stage light. You can build up the show digitally, and then maybe, I mean, the pre-production to prepare a show has never been easy in that sense. So when you get to the theater, maybe instead of using 2 weeks, maybe you use only 1 week or less days, or you have it already more perfected. But there's always like one thing, and that's when you have actors and they have to interact with, I don't know, virtual objects or characters. They need to
see them.
They need to make rehearsals. So that part is really important as well, and it's not all technical stuff. And
Yes, and you guys have a lot of experience in working with dancers and actors and projection mapping. Do you guys have a favorite piece, like a theater piece that you had to make?
I don't know, maybe The Little Prince.
I mean, yeah, well, that's. I mean, I kind of find like. I mean, normally I like all the pieces we're doing, but those pieces that stand out, I think, is always when the production has been flowing nicely. There's like a good team feeling, like. You just feel like, okay, I'm a nice team. Like we're working as a family. Like it's like and one of the things with, I don't know, theater pieces, dance pieces, is like it's not like one time or 2 times of, it's like probably years running, right? And then you having a continuous relation with the producers, and so if on a human level things doesn't work, then it can be a real pain.
Yeah.
So it's really important, to
And for example, with The Little Prince, it's like 7 years now together, and it's super nice. And every year we feel good with them, and with the rest of the actors and the director and all. And that's nice. It's like coming home every year again. And then of course with dance pieces, with the last the dance pieces we did, we are really happy about them.
Sure.
Because sometimes too, when you see it so many times, you would like to change everything about what you did.
The Little Prince is like all the scenography is made with video projection. So we have like objects moving between different acts, etc. So it's all video projection.
Mapping and video projection. And of course, we did the first one for 7 years ago. And we make the changes for 2 years ago. Yeah. But before these changes, when you went there, it's like, I wouldn't do that in this way now, of course.
Yeah, because I assume that the tech is developing so fast that you're probably everything, even your tools are getting updated every single year, right?
Yes.
Sure.
and the way to work, of course.
When you are working in, especially like the last weeks of production, is like, it's not where you do 90%, but a lot of things are happening. And a lot of times you're in the theater and you're sitting and you're trying things and this thing needs to be changed a bit. We need like this thing like 2 meters long over here, and maybe the light, it gets the lighting to be a bit different, but it's like render time. So render is like normally means like hours and hours and hours and hours, and you always have to recheck things, and then you put it in, and there's a small jump, and so it's like it's not fast to change. And when you suddenly have like a long list and the premiere of the show is like hours away, then of course you're gonna do it. And this real time technology just allows you to like move there, and done. But it's not all that glamorous, because then you have to, there's a lot of preparations, but it's like, so instead of render time, you do a lot more preparation for actually work so easy. But I think within the world of stage shows, there's, it's just like, it's like where a lot of things, where you have to, if you're like right now not doing anything, that's where you have to focus, because that's where things are moving or should move, I think.
Yeah, and do you have any other experiences of where it's moving, like specific examples?
I mean, we're playing a lot with trackers right now, like, putting trackers on dancers, on actors, with the little prints, like physical elements moving, and we were thinking, like, how can we do the tracking so the mapping would automatically, go in place, and so then you're thinking out like very complicated technical setups that actually are not practical, because if they're fragile, they can, when you're on tour, it can break easily, and not a good thing. But this thing, like, if you could add just a simple tracker on actor volume, so just
that's what we are doing.
Yeah. The idea was, like, especially with video projection, if you had like a track on an actor, and if you're making like a massive video project on the stage, so normally you would use stage light to even that out, but there's not always you can do it, because then, or maybe the light is too strong, etc. So if you could like attach like this tracker and then have like a black blurred out circle, whatever, to get away the projection just with the actors, and that started like the investigation there, I think. So we actually finished our version 3.9 our tracking system, and we just made a dance piece, and it works great. Actually, we started 2 years ago with another a piece that is called
Incurables.
The Incurables, yes. But it was like more like what's it called, research piece, and the dancer we did it when he decided, like, during COVID to retire. So that piece, I just died with that. So that's.
But with these dancers that we are doing this piece now, we did one piece before that we used the trackers in another way.
Sure.
We recorded the graphism with the trackers.
Like performance capture. Yeah.
Performance capture, and then we did the content with that. But of course for them, they need it always, they are hip hop dancers, they do it always super
punctual.
Yeah.
But of course they need it, if they move a cube or whatever, they need to do it always in the same way, otherwise it looks weird. It looks like if they have the trackers with them on, but they don't, and then for them it's very, it's not so easy for them.
It's for them like, even though the choreography, there's no room for they can improvise just a little bit. They need to stay to the script, and they cannot go one half meter there or left or right. They need to be like on point.
But of course they were 5 in scene, and they had plenty of lights and all, and they couldn't even put on top of all this the trackers and all. And then for this new piece, they are only 2 dancers and us, and we do visuals, live visuals while they are dancing, which is nice for us too.
But it's like, the focus there were more like on improv, on improvisation. Instead of like one is getting locked by the other, it's like both are open, that they move how they want. They have, obviously there are some choreography that they want to do, and with the music, but the image always stays with them, because they have like trackers on the hands, on the body, so it will stay with them, and they're free, and so they're like more playing with the imagery. And
it was super fun to play with it together.
That is so important, isn't it, for a performer, because they don't have to focus on, as you said, being punctual and hitting marks, but they can actually be free in their movement and be creative. I think that's going to make a huge difference.
I mean, we started like, what, 1 month ago? Like 1 month and a half ago? And I think in total we spent like
2 weeks.
2 weeks together, like maybe 1 week with preparation. And that's where I wanted to get, like with suddenly, like with real-time technology, suddenly you can lock things in the moment and improvise in the moment. Like, okay, there we adjust a bit there, and okay, works.
Yeah, it's more instant. You can really work together, and you don't have to, well, as you said, wait for rendering. It's not that heavy as a process, but it's much more light.
It will never look the same. Look similar, but not always the same, because of course the other pieces, they always look, our visuals always look in the same way.
How did you create Desilence, and what was the journey that led you to Desilence?
We met for 17 years ago now.
Yeah, it's probably
17, 18,
21,
something.
No, 18.
18 years ago, yeah. And then I was doing visuals with some friends. We had a studio, and you were... I
came down to like a what's it called, visual arts festival in Barcelona, and to cut the story short, I couldn't get any hotels or even apartments to rent because Airbnb didn't exist back then. But one agency responded me and had one apartment for rent, and that was the
first time I rented my apartment.
And fast forward, well,
and then
I stayed.
The thing is, I was doing visuals, and you were doing
motion graphics and interaction design.
We started to be a couple, and then after that we saw we could work together.
you had a studio where you're doing like live visuals, and you showed me live visuals. I'm like, wow, this is like motion graphics, but like in real time. It's like, this is amazing. And we have to remember back in the day, it was like the resolution was like 320 by 240, like 50, nothing. Like nothing. But it was like, wow, it's amazing. I don't know, this like timing and mixing like graphics in real time was like just amazing. So it was like, wow, big eye opener.
And you have a dog. That's part of the interview.
Dog and 2 kids.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what do you guys think that you're doing differently at Desilence? Because you guys do a lot of different things, and you have like quite a wide range of work. What is it that you guys think are doing differently to everyone else right now?
We try to give an analog look, I think, somehow. Like more like if you paint with oil or whatever, you know. I mean, I think it's what make a bit the difference in the aesthetic.
I think like the most important thing is like not to fall into the typical cliches. I mean, if you speak in video mapping, like things explode, water, fire, butterfly. I don't know. It's like, I guess it comes down to you have to trust your creativity even more. You have to, avoid the cliches, avoid the easy thing. Like, especially I remember like in working in for agencies and stuff like that. No, we want like this effect from Matrix and this guy from Harry Potter, and you have to. So it's like, always, I remember like a lot of it spots. Like it was always like focusing on like what happening in the world of visual effects at the moment, and just lean on that. And still is not bad if you make it yours. But I mean, just but that's more of the same, and it's like you get immune to that. So I guess like it's like trust your creativity and like find your own version of that.
Yeah, your own way to use this tool, in fact. Yeah. I'm not sure how we arrived to this point, because it's something that we do in a natural way. We mix, and that comes out, and I don't know, the way that we use the colors, the way that we use the textures, that give us an oil feeling somehow.
And what about when you are approached by someone to collaborate? How do you start a project? Do you customize your process to a certain project, and how does that usually work for you guys?
In theater, for example, you have, of course, the script, and then you read it, and then from that, of course, you need to explain something, and then you need to find a way to explain it, and that the director, you need to understand each other with the director somehow, because otherwise it doesn't make sense, and then you cannot do something abstract, then you need to do something more realistic, or what the script demands. And with music, you listen to the music, you need to get in touch with the project, and then after that, things comes quite naturally somehow.
Yeah, I just wanted to add with this thing with collaborations and all, I think like, as long as you have a certain respect for each other, things will work out fine. And that's where that's probably the most difficult part, when you work with somebody else, like, if you don't have that, it would be a problem for the production.
The first theater piece we did, it was for 15 years ago. 15 or 13.
2008, I think. Yeah.
And back then, the director, it was a dance piece, and they wasn't so used to our work. And then they don't know it, that we need renders, that we need time, that we need. And back then, the renders were even longer, and everything was more difficult than now.
And also like this thing, like, like you have to trust technology, right? You have to trust the computer that everything will work. And so it means like you have to configure in a certain way, and you have to, treat it like a baby, like, but if you, take care of the things, it will, you can trust it, it will work, but the process there was the
process to educate to the directors to say, no, we need this time. Why? Because they are more used to, no, then you go and you go the other way around. But we cannot do that like this.
It's true, like now we forget about it, but like there's like, when you work with a new director for the first time, and maybe it's new for them to work with visual sonography or projected sonography, you need to make a small session, explain the process a bit, like how it works and how it doesn't work and how you can use it and definitely not do it. And like, if you need virtual actors, like what you have to think about beforehand, and there's like some points of no return, and as long as all play by those rules, it works fine. And especially like this late updates, like I need this act change for tomorrow. It's like, they would like to, but it's not possible. To avoid those things. And I think the more you, in the pre-production, like, explain a bit like the processes to make things, especially if it's a team of person you haven't worked with before, then all will be good. And like, if you need some elements, we need to be able to reposition afterwards, or like, this is only made for this theater with these measures, fine. But do we have to take into account this is going on tour, and it has to adapt a lot of theater formats? Then we have to do this and take this into account, because we always work with this thing like ideas not better than it's realized. And especially in theater, like if you're going on tour, you can have a lot of different formats, and then you have to prepare things differently.
It's time consuming, and I think you're right. Theater is kind of a live medium, so we're used to making quick changes and like being very organic. That's probably why what you just said, that there's real-time graphics now, and that you can work more organically with your performers, is such a huge step forward. I also wanted to ask you if there is there any sort of area you would like to take your visual mapping that you haven't been to before?
For me, what I would like to do mostly is like live visuals in huge places.
Big facades, big building.
Yeah, but super big building, something like that, but live with musician and stuff. That I would really like to do.
And the immersive part, right? That it's,
the immersive too, but we did that, and it's super nice, and I'm sure we will do it a lot more. But over buildings, I think it could be super interesting.
I guess it's like the formula, like, for example, like the formula of the traditional video mappings, like 5 or 10 minutes, and and it replays every half hour, fine. But you have like this very, heavy infrastructure there, and it could maybe be used in different ways as well. And one thing is for decoration, but like now with this visual instrument we've been building, we've been kind of seeing like you can actually like use that for video mappings as well, and do it real time, and you can make some. There's maybe a different kind of show there.
It's so much more interesting for us than doing the 5-minute mapping.
I mean, you can merge like the video mappings with
a live session,
a live show, like music, and you merge that.
I would really like.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think the biggest change that's going to come in your industry in the next couple of years?
I think it's already there. I mean, I think the virtual production part is something that is not only for film or TV. It will be especially I think for YouTube. You will see like every YouTuber there that have a small virtual studio, and there'll suddenly be in a virtual world with their things. I mean, this will be the big new normal on the higher end, I think. We're leaning on the development within virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality, and trying to apply it on stage. And those technologies is like what we're using right now, and it will be like even more refined for the stages.
Bringing this kind of high-end technology to people's homes is such a huge part of it. And I think that's something that we, from a theater perspective, we really struggled with. Like, how do you bring an experience to someone's sofa, because it's not going to feel the same. So maybe making more customized and personal experiences that are accessible to everyone, and you don't need a lot of tech for it, is probably the way forward.
I mean, it's also like, of course, it's storytelling, and when you're in a theater, like it's like if you want, it's like one big plate, like one big is open frame, from a camera point of perspective, right? But it works when you're in a theater, but probably when you are sitting on a smaller screen, maybe it's not dynamic enough, and so the challenge
even
is,
if you would have glasses, if you don't do it really immersive, it's strange, because when you have the glasses and you watch Netflix, it's like I could watch it in a normal screen, because it's not prepared for that. Then if you do a movie for a VR movie, then it needs to be prepared for that.
I don't have the golden solution for how it has to work now. I mean, I mean, because if you cannot experience it live, then it's not the same. I think I have seen some shows recorded and fine, but the thing is, like the difficult thing is, like if it's a streamed theater musical piece, if it looks like a cheap TV show, in the sense that the audio is not perfect or the light is perfect for the eyes, but not for the camera, and then suddenly
it's not prepared,
and it's not fair for the theater piece. But if people are seeing on the screen, you probably you are judging it by those terms, really. But on the other hand, like Netflix and all the other platforms, they're running out of content, really. So no, but really, I mean.
Yeah, but then it's a movie. Then it's not theater.
Yeah. So we need a Netflix for theater is what we need. I mean, there's some initiatives like Marquee TV, which and a lot of streaming sites that are collaborating with theaters. But I think you are absolutely right. There has to be a new form of filming things that's not necessarily filmic, as you said, because that would be a cheat, because you don't get to be that close to the piece. But it's also not just a single camera bland archive of it. So I think there are a lot of companies that are trying to work out how do we reinvent theater for the screen.
If you use virtual production adapted to a theater play, you could. I mean, it could work. I guess you have to, if you want to do theater and you want to do it virtually, you have to adapt the theater to the virtual world. And the problem is, like, if it's a theater-only production with a camera nearby, sometimes you see all the imperfections, and that's not fair for the theater production, I think.
My final question is that I'm in a theater right now, and I always ask my guests at the end of our chat that if you were here with me and if anything were possible, what would you like to make in this space?
Easy, like a massive show with audience, and maybe stream it even. I don't know. Maybe even a party where people can dance. I don't know.
Without seats.
Like
a mix between concert and dancers and mixing everything.
It'll be like
people dancing.
It'll be like an all-night event.
Everywhere.
It'll be like an all-night event for sure.
Yeah, something crazy, but mixing everything.
Visual orgy of things happening. Yeah, sure.
What did you say? Was it explosions, water, all that?
None of that.
Thank you so much for coming on this show. It was brilliant to talk to you, and I'm very excited for all the things you guys are doing with Desilence. So best of luck and stay safe, and I hope that we can see your work soon, either virtually or live.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was Traverse. Thank you so much for joining us, and join us next time to see what's next for our industry.